Champions Cup, folks. What is it about Leinster and La Rochelle? Always seem to be cracking games in recent times. 16 points to 14. It is a proper arm wrestle between these sides. Leinster's defence is very hard to break down, and La Rochelle love having a lot of ball. 16 points to 14, though, one try each way. We'll go through some of the key events and the stats, and you guys can let us know your thoughts. But yeah, I got up at just after 4 in the morning to watch this one, and the game didn't let me down. It was a proper arm wrestle that absolutely went down to the wire. And Leinster's defence at the end held through all the kind of phases that La Rochelle threw at them. And also, weirdly, La Rochelle had the knack of getting shots at goal to hit the posts and managed to kind of get advantage from it in this game. But it was a weird one. As I said, go through some key events and some stats. You guys let us know your thoughts on how you thought this game went. La Rochelle had so much ball in the entire first half. They had 58% possession the entire first half. But you feel like Leinster were able to do more with it because their defence was just so stingy. But that being said, first points of the game, La Rochelle's on the back of all that possession. Astori slots a penalty, 3 points to 0. Leinster's first attack, Aldreit's able to win themselves a turnover. So good start from La Rochelle. 3-point lead and first defensive set holds, but Prendergast did get 3 points back not too long later for Leinster to make it 3 points apiece. And then Prendergast, I think it was Ryle Nugent, had been talking up on the back of that penalty, immediately kind of got charged down in a bit of commentator's curse, which led to a whole heap of pressure for La Rochelle. I think they had 2 scrums about 5 metres out and 1 line out 5 metres out from Leinster's line. But could they get anything from it? No. Leinster hold them out. La Rochelle ended up going for another 3-pointer a few minutes later, which was a little bit of a testament to Leinster's defence. They had to kind of opt for the 3 instead of, trying to put more pressure on for a try. But still a lead, 6-point to 3. Not a bad return. Well, is it a bad return? Not a great return for all the ball they've had, you would feel, La Rochelle. And then Leinster doing what bloody Leinster do. After absorbing all that pressure, they go down the other end of the field and score. I've seen you guys do this multiple times, Leinster, and they do it in this one. Is it the first 22 entry? Maybe. But line-out move for Leinster. Ryan Baird pops the ball to Osborne. Osborne kind of skills to get the ball behind his back, where he catches it. Gets it to McCarthy with the support line, the big lock, who had him as first try scorer. Try time for Leinster. 6 points for La Rochelle, 10 points to Leinster. They are in front. They're not going to relinquish this lead for the rest of the game. But yeah, it's a brutal one for La Rochelle given how much ball they've had. And then both sides have lost props. Cian Healy's gone off for Leinster. Antonio's gone off for La Rochelle. And then La Rochelle would later lose Wardy as well. So the propping casualties were a bit high. We'll see if that has any impact on the Six Nations. But it certainly didn't help La Rochelle's scrum. They were getting put under the pump, especially start of the second half. But there was another try chalked off. Astori went length of the field. Got called back for a Jack Knoll knock-on when trying to intercept. Two-handed intercept, so didn't get himself into any trouble. But you could kind of tell by the body language that Astori was initially making the break from the turnover ball, thinking, are you going to call me back? Sure enough, eventually they called him back. But, no other points in the first half. It is a 10 points to 6 lead for Leinster at half-time. But, La Rochelle have had 58% possession, 57% territory. They've had 202 run metres. But from less ball, Leinster have had 191 run metres, which is not that different. And as I said, they've only had 42% of the ball. They've had 2 clean breaks to La Rochelle's zip. So they've done a little bit more with a bit less. They've scored the only try, and they've had 4 turnovers, 1-2 on their defensive shift. So it's been a pretty good defensive effort from Leinster. Second half starts, there's a bit of more defensive pressure applied by Leinster when they stop an early La Rochelle maul. There's a bit of handbags, pushing and shoving. Colombe, the big prop, gets a penalty against him for ripping off the headgear of one of the Leinster players, which a bit of a soft one, but I mean, you got to stop the guys who are escalating that kind of handbag play. The crowd did not like that. The crowd shouldn't like that because of the home crowd, and they should be putting the pressure on the ref, but the crowd didn't like that. And then Leinster scrum just applies pressure, leads to a penalty, 13 points to 6 to Leinster. Next scrum, La Rochelle get free kicked at the scrum time, and you can audibly hear, I don't forget which Leinster player it was, saying, can we have a scrum again? Remember, they've changed the rules. You can't have a scrum again, but that's the mood Leinster were in. They wanted to keep turning the screws on La Rochelle at scrum time. But yeah, 2-score lead on 54 minutes when Prendergast slots another penalty. The crowd's pretty upset, but it's 16 points to 6. And given how stingy Leinster have been defensively, it's not looking like La Rochelle are going to come back into this one with a 10-point deficit. But that's the final scoring for Leinster. They'll be a little bit frustrated in the final 20 plus minutes. They weren't able to get anything on the board. Not that they didn't have the chances. Chance for La Rochelle in 56 minutes to narrow the lead when they had a penalty shot, but again, it hits the post, leads to Leinster knock on, so it's kind of a beneficial hitting of the post from La Rochelle, which was bizarre. And then a second chance for La Rochelle when Leinster were offside, gave them an easier shot at goal, which they did kick, so 16-9. Doris, I think, is that the one where when they had advantage, La Rochelle, he just came around a ruck and just kind of shoved his foot into it, so he didn't get talked to for that, but it's sometimes a bit of a cheeky one when your team's under the advantage or under penalty. The opposition's got penalty advantage. You just kind of ensure that the play stops. He did that. It's kind of smart play, reminiscent of many a Crusaders side I have seen in the past. But yeah, slot the penalty. La Rochelle, so 16 points to 9. And they do get the next try though, La Rochelle. Geez, it took some magic. Dylan Leeds, or Leeds, if you want to go with, I think it was Royal Nugent's commentary. It is Leeds. Dylan Leeds, he gets the finish. Bloody hell, they had to work for it, but proper magic from La Rochelle. So many phases. Eventually, Astoy resorts to a cross kick, which he did multiple times. Later on, he'll try these cross kicks again. At least 2 of them go out on the full. But this one was the one he got right. Cross kick after a lot of phases, sometimes going backwards, but a cross kick to Dylan Leeds. And then Leeds has got the foresight to quickly grubber it through for himself. And it's not an easy bounce. It's a bobbling wee ball that just goes over the try line. He dots it down, then get absolutely clattered into as soon as he'd scored it. But he scored it. Missed conversion, but 14 points to 16. That is the final scoring of the game. Both sides would have shots to extend the scoring from here, but none of them went over. But you got to give credit to that try. It took a lot of work to break the Leinster defence down, and they did it, but they immediately conceded a penalty. La Rochelle, after scoring the try, Ross Byrne wasn't able to slot it, so he'll get a bit more smack talked about him, but as I said, Hastoy was no better. He missed a couple of cross kicks out on the full. Geordie Barrett likewise had a penalty, a much harder kick, but a penalty which he couldn't slot from kind of angle and distance. There was a bit of TMO at one point for Caelan Doris's hit on Astoy, but it was another one of those ones where I'm shaking my head as to what are we watching? Why are we stopping the game? Like, Caelan Doris could not be more bent in his tackle. Like, Astoy leads with his head into him. I don't know what you're supposed to do. That wasted a few seconds of all our lives, but they checked it for some reason. There was nothing doing. They had a penalty shot anyway because they had advantage. The La Rochelle lads, they again take that long shot. Astoy's not got the legs for this one again, but again he hits the bloody sticks. And from those sticks, it's another Leinster knock on, and then you get the helter-skelter, edge-of-your-seat finish, which sees La Rochelle go for a drop goal. They don't get it because it gets charged. They go through phases. They're going backwards in the end, and eventually it ends with a forward pass, which is kind of fitting that the end of this game is Leinster's defence holding wave after wave of attack, because that was the game. That was the difference between the sides. Possession 61-39 to La Rochelle. Territory 60-40 to La Rochelle. Like they had all the ball, but they had fewer run meters, 335 to 343, so they weren't doing as much with more ball. The Leinster guys had 4 clean breaks to 1. Leinster may be a bit frustrated given those numbers that can only score once themselves. La Rochelle had more carries, makes sense because they had more ball, but 147 tackles to 99, Leinster's defence. How many times have I said that in this video? Drink every time I said Leinster's defence. It was a thing. It was a thing. Doris, 28 tackles, 3 turnovers, 1 proper captain's knock. Aldred also 18 tackles for his lads. Noel beat 7 defenders. Baird had a bloody clean break. You love seeing that guy get into some space. He should have been a back, maybe in another life. But yeah, Leinster get the win. But it's an edge-of-your-seat one. Proper worthy of a Champions Cup. 4 o'clock wake up for mine. La Rochelle will face Benetton in their final game of the group stage away from home, and Leinster will be home to Bath, which should be a pretty interesting one given some of the big names on display. But yeah, you guys let us know your thoughts. Leinster and La Rochelle haven't disappointed. They have been well worthy of a Champions Cup watch. You guys take care, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.